for the Russia-Canadian Democratic Alliance. And I have a question for you, Madame Joly. I want to make sure I've understood clearly. You were appointed Minister of Foreign Affairs in October 2021? Yes. You said that it was in the summer of 2023, in May, that you were briefed on Zhao Wei, so in May 2023. Between October 2021 and the moment you were briefed on about this event, were you also briefed on what we always call the threat landscape? Do you get are you told what's going on with various countries where you will be as traveling to? Which are identified by intelligence agencies as being actors involved in foreign interference? Or was there no time during that almost 2 years that you received that information? Answer: it's not that how it happens, because I think it would be the Minister of Public Safety. As soon as I got became Minister of Foreign Affairs, a war began. So the primary goal was to manage the consequences of that war. And is Russia carrying out foreign interference in Canada? Yes, but at the same time, we're summoning the ambassador. No, I understand. I don't know what you did. I just want to know whether you were briefed by anybody, by CSIS or a deputy minister, or a document sent to you. Were you briefed on the landscape in terms of what countries are suspected of carrying out foreign interference? Answer: yes, I was told that we had problems with Iran, with India, with China, problems of foreign interference. No, but specifically foreign interference, I don't remember having been briefed about that. But what I would also add is that the reality of what was happening, and also say that CSIS doesn't come to see me to talk to me about this, but it's as though I begin to have interactions with the country, that I acquire a broader picture. Question: by means of briefings? Answer: yes, briefings through the actions that I'm carrying out. For 8 months, we're working only on Russia. So the war began in February. So until summer, that's what I was involved with. So then I began to work on the China strategy and Indo-Pacific strategy. So that's the topic. After, in that context, I start to work on India, but I started to work even more in India when I'm preparing for the G20. I know our relationship with India is complex and problematic. So I begin dealing with that, both in the Indo-Pacific strategy, especially in January 2023. So that's how I work on various files. Thank you. Maître Serrois, it's your turn. So Guillaume Serrois for the Russia-Canada Democratic Alliance. So I want to come back to the issue of online disinformation that we call online propaganda. So I want to talk about solutions, but first of all, I want to come back and speak about all those events of Tenet Media. I know your statement of September 13th, following the revelations about Tenet Media. So you were saying that Russia propaganda is targeting the elections in our country. Answer: not just elections, but democracy. When RT funds commentators, they can talk about medicine, about COVID vaccines. They can talk about issues related to the Freedom Convoy. It's very broad. It's not just based on democracy and elections. They're more public affairs topics. Question that makes it difficult to detect and to evaluate the impact. They might be opinions that Canadians already held. Answer: the goal is to polarize, to create division and chaos, to really emphasize what's not working in our society rather than have a more journalistic approach and saying, well, here's what's going on, here are the facts. Question: if we emphasizing what doesn't work in our society this much, can it have a impact on the government in position? Answer: yes. There's it creates a lot of social tension, frustrations, dissatisfaction. Question: in terms of the government in power. Answer: it goes beyond just the government. The government's elected, but it's more than that. It's a general dissatisfaction in terms of what's happening in society. And it really affects the confidence, not just in institutions, not towards people like me. I have the responsibility for the Global Affairs Department, but even the social fabric, that people don't get along with each other. They don't agree with each other. So that's why it's corrosive. That's why I said it's a gangrene. Earlier. And we mustn't think that Canada is immune to this. Question. Thank you. I really appreciate your evidence and your candor. You talked about several tools, and each one has its own importance, its role to play. But I understand that for reasons, they're not the best of for foreign information or disinformation. We talk about the RRM, social media companies. I wanted to talk about a possible solution that was presented by several people, and that might be more proactive instead of defensive, to counter online disinformation and propaganda online. And I'd like to know what you think. The first that I'd like to mention is that of renewing Canada's efforts to reach ordinary Russians and Russians in living in other countries, to really shed light on Putin's lies and the true cost of Putin's invasion of Ukraine for the average citizen, Russian citizen. Answer: yes, we did that already. I'll give you an example. Alexei Navalny's widow came to Ottawa. I had a conversation with her, a public conversation with her, open for the media. Ilya Navalnaya was there, and we support her organization based in Vilnius, Lithuania. I'll give you another example. When I was in Poland, I went and gave an interview to a clandestine radio station operating from Poland that was aiming to an audience in Belarus to tell them what we were doing, what Canada's done, why we impose sanctions. So really to enter into this very closed environment, universe, Belarus, so that they can have access to information other than just the propaganda that's circulating there. We're working with several countries on that. The Americans have Radio Free Europe that was created in the Second World War, actually. Question: and we used as evidence that Russian was using a fire hose of falsehoods. Free style translation. So I'm wondering if that's an approach we could use, a kind of fire hose of truth. In order to target Russians that are victims of a very repressive regime in Russia. Answer: yes. And we have to say that this war between Russia and Ukraine, well, we're supporting Ukraine, and we're exerting very strong, extreme pressure against Russia through sanctions that are go up to the economic level. It's Putin's regime and COVID. It's not against the Russian people who are held hostage by this corrupt regime. Question, and so give them tools to counter Putin's lies? Answer, exactly. Question, so you talked about the global south. We know that Russia is also interfering in Asia and Latin America in terms of propaganda. It's a cognitive war, is what it's called by some people. So are there efforts to be made at that level to counter this and have our own cognitive war, lead it to counter what's happening in Russia, especially as regards Ukraine? Yes, I gave a little course on pragmatic diplomacy, on why we have to speak with states, even states with whom we disagree, because if we don't do it, we not only lose our influence at the international level, but we're also encouraging countries who are maybe are not sure where they stand to coalesce with Russia and China. So it's important that we could be able to discuss with countries in the global south and counter new coalitions. So with countries with whom we don't usually speak so much. I'll give an example. That's why I went to Africa this summer to discuss with South Africa. Canada has been trying to put a lot of pressure on the regime that was supporting apartheid at times so that it make a transition to democracy. The first country that Nelson Mandela visited outside South Africa was Canada.
So we have that whole history, but there had never been a foreign affairs ministers that went to South Africa, except for Mandela's wake. I went to Côte d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast. I went to meet with various countries in Asia because of the Indo-Pacific strategy. I went to Philippines, Indonesia, Vietnam, Cambodia. I could go on. In my mandate, I've visited 50 or 60 countries. So it's fundamental to work with the Global South. And Canada, I said earlier that we're not a nuclear power, but we are a diplomatic power because we are well respected, especially in the Global South countries, because we have a positive history. And we have this role to play to counter Russian disinformation, but also defend our interests. But let me tell you, if you go to Egypt, there's immense panels with RT. They are throughout the world, RT. So we're in our reality here. But the power of Russia today is very, very strong everywhere else. Question, you're making us travel through the world today. I appreciate it. And in my last 30 seconds, I want to bring it back to the mission of our commission to protect our democratic institutions and our democracy. To this information war that Canada could have through the war could have an impact of better protecting our elections, our democratic institutions. Answer, yes. Each embassy has a budget to support local organizations. It's called the CFLI, to support local organizations. One of the priorities in that fund is the independence of media and supporting local media. So in Moldavia, they're supporting local media trying to fight against Russian interference. In Poland, I talked about Belarus. In the Baltic countries also. So that's just one example, but there's a lot of work being done to support local organizations throughout the world. In Russia, it's a challenge, but we're working with other countries to make sure that information is reaching Russians. I have no more time, but thank you.